everybody, welcome to Bones Collector. This is a video series where Lori and I are taking the time to play through our library 2 or 3 games at a time and then making a video. We hope you enjoy this series, and I'm always telling you that we play our library, and that's what I wanted to show you and why I wanted to make this video series. Hey you guys, how you doing? Welcome to Bones Collector, and Lori and I just got done playing Citrus. And Citrus was a board game developed in 2013. It's when it came out, by Jeffrey D. Allers. And the art is by Clement Franz, and you can probably tell that that's Clement Franz. It just looks like his stuff. It's 2 to 5 players. It's a tile placement, area control, area majority type of game, and the winning condition is most points. I love Citrus. It's been in my top 100 ever since we've had this game, and we enjoy this game so much. Let me talk for a few minutes about the production of the game. It's very good. Nice box. It's not the thickest box, but it's thicker than some of those thin Kleenex boxes. So it's a nice box. It's by TMG back when they were in business, and DLP Games. And then you have a nice, colorful, thick playing board, and it has 2 sides because you can play a quick game. So you can play a long game or a quick game. We just got done playing the long game. It takes a full 90 minutes.
Well, for us,
yeah. I mean, I'll explain that in a minute. And then the tiles, these beautiful tiles that you lay on the board, are very pretty and thick. So very nice. You got a market board here. Each player has one of these little player things to keep their workers and track of your coins, your money, with this circle thing here. And then we have fincas, the actual fincas themselves that go on the board that you're going to build around, and they have 2 point totals on them. One for the person with the majority of tiles in their plantations around that finca, and a second place total of points. So you get more for first place, obviously, and less for second place. But you have a stack here on this board for your fincas, and then these are building sites that come with the game. And there's letters on the board. I'll take some of these. We just got done playing, so anyways, you got letters from the alphabet on the board, and each one of the building sites matches one of those letters. And so when you have these stacked up as you start the game out, you're going to have like all these building sites on the board like that, and your fingers look something like this. And then when you're making selections from this market, when you get down to 3 tiles in the market or less, then that triggers repopulation of the board. So you're going to have to take one of these fincas and place it on a building site where one of these building tiles, I'm not going to have them in the correct spot, so don't leave bad comments about me because I'm messing up. But you'll take one of these fincas and you have to put it, you'll have 3 choices of building sites on the board, and you have to place that finca on one of those building sites and take that off the board, that building site, and place the finca on the board. And then you'll take one of these building sites and put it, whatever letter it happens to be, you'll put that on the board at that point. So that's the way this works. Okay, so the way this game works, and your turn is going to consist of, you're choosing between 2 things. You're either going to build or you're going to harvest. And when you build, that's when you go to this board over here and you take a look at it, and you want to decide, what tiles do I want? And the reason why that's such a tough decision is you have to buy them in rows. So if you want to, maybe you only have, if you only have $2, you couldn't buy this row because you have to pay $1 for each tile. So there's 4 tiles in that row, 4 in that row, 4 in that row, 3 in this row. If you've got $2, you can only buy this green and orange or this pink and green tiles. That's it. And you can't even just buy one in this particular instance. There are times once some of the tiles are off of here that you can just buy one, but in this case you cannot. So that choice alone can just drain your brain, because you're looking at the board of what you've already built during the game, and you're like, what colors do I need? What do I want to do? I mean, because when you're laying down these tiles, you're trying to not only get the majority around one of these fincas, but if you stretch out enough, you can even have the same plantation that you're building. That's what they call when you got all the same of one color and your guy's on it. So this would be my plantation, this red one, because my guy was on it. You can build that clear over to another plantation if you wanted to. Like this plantation down here, if it's flipped over, and this tile, and this thing wasn't here, this finca was flipped over, then you would build this plantation all the way down here if you wanted to, and get credit for that plantation also with this one guy. And that is really nice to do, but it's hard to do because you cannot have a lot of money in this game. You're only allowed 12 coins total on your player board. That's it. I mean, if you get more coins than that, you forfeit them. They count for nothing. So you're trying to balance that money and the harvest action with your building action. It is a delicate balancing act. You're never rich in this game. And you're trying to plan for that. Now when you're deciding what tiles to take here and you're trying to build near a plantation, because you have to build. If you take tiles off of this market board, you have to use them all. You have to have a place to put them. So when you're putting them on the board, you can only have, there's only 4 spaces for different color of plantation tiles around one of these fincas. That's it, just 4. And they have to be different. You can't have 2 reds, you can't have 2 greens, they have to be 4 different tiles, and there's only 5 different colors. So you're racking your brain trying to ask yourself, what do I want to do with these tiles? Because you have to have guys available to start a build, and at many times during this past game we just played, I had no guys. I was like, oh my, I had them all on the board. I was like, oh my, you know, because it just ends up coming out that way because I keep my money so tight, and then I would have maybe 4 to spend, and I would have to make sure that all the tiles that I purchased from the market could be played on one of my plantations on the board because I didn't have any guys. You have to have guys, workers, to put out to start a new plantation, and there were times when you just won't. And this is one of the crunchiest little games that you'll play, and you only have 2 choices. Man, it's a crunch, this game, because you just have so many opportunities to do different things. Even though you're just making a choice of 2 things, there's so many opportunities on the board to do different things. And then there's also these landscape tiles that are going to be populating the board, and as you're building your plantation out, if your plantation stretches out to that landscape tile, you can pick that up. And there's various ones of these. They do different things. There's a bull on this one here, and if you get one of these bulls, you can finish one of your fincas by placing a bull out there instead of starting another plantation. So those are really handy. Or you can get one of these things that have a bridge on them, and these bridge tiles you can put over top of rock zones. Normally you wouldn't be able to cross that, but if you got a bridge, you can build your plantation right across that. So that bridge token does that. What else we got? We got money on some of the landscape tokens. We got the opportunity to take a tile from the market and place it immediately on the board. Man, that's valuable stuff. You can get a tile that's going to allow you to place a finca and then place another building tile. So you can place a finca. Maybe you're stretching out your plantation and it's coming over to where there's a building site. You could use a bridge tile to go across here and then continue this plantation on, and then say, oh man, I'm gonna snag that. You know, I'd have to have a guy in here, but I'm gonna make this count here, and I'm gonna make it count here on this plantation, but there's no plantation there. So you would want to take that tile, and it would allow you to place a plantation there where there's a building site, and boom, it's going to be active.
And remove that one yellow tile that's on the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just showing
just
stuff.
An example.
Yeah, I'm just showing an example of how the things that you have to think about while you're playing this game. It is so rich and so deep in complexity and so small in rules. Yeah. And Lori and I just love those kinds of games. This thing is so awesome. It's just a brain burner while you're sitting there thinking, because again, how do you optimize your points? If you grow a plantation like this orange here, if this plantation were the yellow players, and you said, well, I'm going to harvest this plantation, because when you do, you get points and money. So you would take this man off the board, you would count your points. Each one of these plantation tiles that has a well on it, you can see in the corner that blue well. So each one that has a well on it is worth 2 instead of 1. Most of the time these plantation tiles are only worth 1. In this case it'd be 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 points. I would take this guy back, put him on my board, get my 8 points, and because I'm all the way up to the 7 on my player board, I would get 7 coins, which would take me from 4 to 11. Okay? So you have to choose. When do I do that? Do I want to harvest now? I mean, I've harvested guys off the board that had one tile on my plantation because I got so desperate for money. You know, I had to do it. And so you're choosing between that, or you're choosing you know, which tiles to take off this board, whether to expand your plantation or to start a new one. And I'm telling you what, this game is so much fun. You can play a long game like this, or flip the board over and play a short game, which removes some of the plantation tiles and some of the fincas, I believe, right? And so you can play a shorter game, which we're going to do as soon as I'm done taping, because I want to play it again. This game's awesome, man. And I couldn't tell you enough about it. Every time Lori and I play this game, we're like, oh my gosh, this game is amazing. I should have looked up Jeffrey Aller's catalog in Board Game Geek to see what else he's made. But if, this game is just, this is a genius game. And I'm telling you, these are the type of board games that Lori and I like. And these are the type of board games you'll probably like as you get older in your life and you get busy with things to do as time's running out on you and time is short because you work or you're just busy in your life. And these are the types of board games we like to play because it is crunchy and thinky, and it's just a wonderful, refreshing puzzle. And it can be done in, if you play the short game, it can be done in under an hour. But this game, it probably take you about 90 minutes when you play the full game, because again, the decisions get very, very difficult on what you want to do. This game is amazing, and yeah, it's always going to be in my top 100. It will never leave because of the tightness of this game. The money is so tight that you're just trying to balance that harvest and the build. Which do I do? Should I do it now? Should I wait? Should I take tiles off this board that's going to trigger a new finca? Or do I just want to take one tile and then the next time when my opponent takes a tile off of there, let them trigger the new finca? Because sometimes there's an advantage to doing that. So you're thinking about those things, and you're thinking about the colors of these tiles that are not only available, but which ones are going to be left when you go to take your next turn. So you're like, oh my gosh, okay, what's going to be left if I take these now? Well, see, I'm looking over at my opponent's board, see how much money they got, and see what they can buy. and so I want to see what's going to be left over. And so you're thinking way ahead in this game, and I just love that. And I just want to tell you about it, you guys. This is, it's on Amazon for $47. You know, I don't know if that's good or bad. I think I don't know what we paid for it.
We bought it on sale.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah, we bought it a long time ago.
So it was a lot cheaper. Games were cheaper back then.
Yeah.
But this, here's the thing. No matter what you pay for a game, if the game is great, who cares? And I'm not saying go out and spend a bunch of money on a board game because of that. But I don't really think about how much Citrus cost me because it's given me so much pleasure to play. It's the games that I pay a lot of money for that aren't very good that you remember the most.
I remember how much I paid for those.
Yeah. You remember those really quite easily. But these games, you're like, I don't remember what I paid for it. It's fantastic. That's all I can say. It's a fantastic game. Everything about it. The design is incredible. The production's good. It's a wonderful tile-laying area majority board game that plays quick, that plays smoothly, but will burn your brain. And I like that. And that's why I wanted to tell you guys about Citrus by Jeffrey D. Allers. Hey guys, welcome to the Bones Collector, and today Laura and I just got done playing Cottage Garden. But before I get into Cottage Garden, I would like to say that this is a series where we've been playing our board game library and then sharing the videos with you guys. And I would like to plead with you to please take a few seconds and give us a like on these videos. Now, that helps our video channel quite a bit. We do not have commercials during our videos because we don't monetize our videos. So we don't expect you to pay us to do this. This is something that we do as a hobby, and we like to share it with you. So when you do a simple thing like giving us a thumbs up on our videos, it just helps out so much. So enough about that. Anyways, yeah, we just got done playing Cottage Garden. Cottage Garden came out in 2016 by Uwe Rosenberg, and it was the first of a trilogy of games. The second game was Indian Summer, and the third game was Spring Meadow. I played all three of these games, and this was the best one. I liked it, the complexity level of it. I liked the puzzly nature of it, and I just enjoyed it more than the other two. That was just our personal preference. This game is for 1 to 4 players, so you can play it solo, and it is open drafting of these tiles, grid coverage on your gardens, and then tile placement. So the winning condition is, of course, most points. I want to talk about the production of the game. This box is kind of thin. It's not horrible, but it's a little bit thinner than I would like. But that's the only complaint I have about the production. The rest of the tiles are nice and thick. All the polyomino tiles, the parasol, the beehives. The board is very nice. And again, I told you it was, you have another side for a 4-player game. And it's got the arrows on it to tell you when to take your turn if you get lost. So that's kind of nice, but a nice board. And the wheelbarrow is nicely thick, and it fits in the box put together. So I really like that. These scoring these are just wooden cubes, but these scoring tracks are very nice. So yeah, that's the production of this game. It's fine. This is the beginning setup. So these tiles around here are going to repopulate this board. On this board is where you'll be making your selection of tiles that are going to go in your garden. So that's easy enough. And you have this big, chunky gardener die. And in a 2-player game, and it has it on the board here, where you start this die. And what numerical value you're going to start on. It's going to start on 2. And as we move around this board, the first player will take a selection from this column, and then the gardener die moves. And the second player will take one from this column, and the gardener die moves, and back to the first player, and so on. Now this game plays 1 to 4. You can play 2 to 3 players on this side and 4 players on the other, and it has arrows on the board actually to show you where you should be with that gardener die if it's your turn. So that helps out quite a bit. And as you're moving that gardener die around the board, once you get back to that starting space, you flip it from 2 to 3. And you make another rotation around the board, make your selections, and you'll flip it to 4, and so on. But on your turn, you're simply going to look down these columns and across these rows when that gardener die gets to that particular column or row, and make a selection of one of those tiles, and you're going to place it on these 2 garden tiles that you have in front of you. And one is light on the light side, and one is on the dark side tile. And then there's one in the middle of the table for everyone. And what happens is once you finish one of your garden tiles, you score it, and then you'll take this tile from this extra tile, put it in front of you, and then you'll flip this one and put it over as the common tile for the other player. And whenever a garden is finished, they'll take that, and so on. So that's the way that works. So you'll always have 2 tiles in front of you that you're working on. And again, you're going to be selecting tiles and try and cover up your gardens, avoiding these blue cloches. You don't want to cover those up because those are scoring the blue columns over here, and the flower pots are also scoring with these orange cubes. So you don't want to cover those up when you're doing your grid coverage. And like any good polydomino, what's the word? Polyomino game, there's going to be little onesie spaces left over, and you have these opportunity to get these extra cloches from the market board, or you can use these kitty cats. And you start the game out with 2, and as your scoring markers cross this red line on the scoring track, you get extra kitty cats, and you can place those as an extra action on your turn to fill up your board. You cannot have more than 2 at the end of your turn, so you must use them up on your guard board as you go, or else you just lose them. So you have to discard down to 2 at the end of your turn. Now, one of the most interesting things about this game, and the reason why I really love this game, is because of this scoring mechanism. And what happens is you'll count your cloches, and that's the blue markers, or your flower pots, and that's the orange markers, and then you'll move them up the spaces on this scoring track. And the blue ones go 2 points at a time until you get up here. Then you jump from 14 to 20. So you're moving those blue cubes on this track, the orange cubes on this track, and when each one of them crosses this line, you get a kitty cat. And if you can get all 3 markers out of this start area, when you get the 3 oranges out, you get a flower pot, and when you get all 3 blues out, you get a flower pot. And of course the goal is to get up here across this line, get these kitty cats, and then get into that 20, because in the orange it goes from 15 to 20. It's a 5-point jump rather than just single-point increments. And then the blue is 2-point increments until you get up here, then it's a 6-point jump to get to 20. So that's pretty nice. You're thinking about that when you're scoring these boards, where you want to move those markers, because the end of the game is going to be tricky. And you want to think about that as you're doing your scoring in this game. And I might as well cover that. So once the end of the game gets here, You turn this gardener tile turns over to number 6 as soon as you get to that 6th round. Of course, you're going to go around the board one more time, but any garden tiles that you have in front of you that have less than 3 tiles on them, and kitty cats and flower pots don't count, but if you have less than 3 puzzle pieces on these tiles, it has to be discarded immediately. And then you have to finish these garden tiles. And in order to do that, you have to pay with points. So if you have your markers on your board like this, you got a couple of blues in the 20 and then a blue down here on the 4 and a couple of orange guys there and one not even out of the starting gate. If you've got tiles you have to take to fill up your board depending on what type of situation you're in, because you've got 3 tiles on there or you had to discard it, so you didn't get to score it. Now if you have 3 single holes, let's say, in your garden puzzle, your garden tile, then that would cost you 6 points to fill that up with flower pots. So every time you take a turn, you're going to minus 2 points. You can take and move one of these blue markers back 1 space, which is 2 points, or one of the orange markers back 2 spaces, which is 1 point apiece. But you got to pay in points 2 points per turn. And that's why you have to plan for this at the end of the game. And it's a tricky situation because you're finishing these flower beds and you're trying to get these cubes up into the 20 to get that bigger bonus and get those extra points. But again, at the end of the game, you're going to have to pay some of those points. And if let's say you're in a situation where you have maybe a couple of these not out of the starting gate yet, and you've paid with a couple of turns, and you can actually move these markers back to start by paying for those turns. If all you have left of the bonus cubes up in the 20s, you would have to move those out of the 20 and lose that terrific bonus in order to pay for your turns. But you must complete all your garden tiles until they're out of the game. And that's the tricky part of this, because once you can see things happening and you can looking at your garden tiles towards the end of the game, you can see it's round 5 and it's getting up there, and once that thing turns over, it triggers the end game, and boom, you have to start thinking about how you're going to finish the game as far as paying for points and completing your tiles. And you're still moving this gardener tile. Let's say one player, which happened to us, Lori, had finished immediately, had done everything she could do to score because she lost her tiles at the end of the game. She didn't have enough of these polyomino shapes on there. She was all done with her garden tiles, but she still has to take her turn by moving this garden tile. And that way, if there's anything in these rows or columns that the other player can use, they'll become available as this garden tile moves around, and he's paying 2 points, or he or she is paying 2 points to take those turns. And that's the tricky part of this game. You have these beehive tiles, and they are bonus tiles for a first player to put one of these wooden cubes in the 20 bonus section, takes the beehive that has 2 beehives on it, and the second player would receive, as soon as they get a cube in the 20 bonus section, they would take this beehive token with 1 beehive on it, and it's worth 1 point, and the beehive token with 2 beehives on it is worth 2 points at the end of the game. So you kind of want to give it up there. I mean, a point can be huge. You never know in a game like this. Also, I wanted to mention, as you're taking your turns and moving this gardener die around the board, you might look at these shapes and say, I don't know how that's going to really fit on my board. Well, you have a parasol token here, and it can go in that space while you temporarily take that tile and try it out on your board or your boards, wherever you think you might want to fit that. And that comes in very handy, because when we first started playing this game, we didn't do that and we would forget what we were doing. So that comes in very handy. I always suggest you use that parasol token. And then it's got this cute little wheelbarrow. That's a pretty cool token. I love this thing. And it's got the flower pots in it. Now, as these tiles start to disappear off the board, once there are each row or each column, when you move the gardener die, if there is only 1 or less tiles in the row or column, you have to replenish it from this row here, and you would remove these tiles, put them on the market board. Now you can, if you are 2 or less in the row, you can, as a player or part of your turn, pay a kitty cat to replenish those other 2 tiles. And sometimes you'll want to do that because, I mean, in this game, you're thinking ahead. You're going, oh, see, that's me, that's her, that's me, that's her, that's me. see, I need that tile. Well, I got, maybe there's 2 tiles in one of those rows you need desperately. Maybe there's 2 of them. So you're going through your head saying, well, if I take that one, am I going to end up being able to get that one when we go to the columns? And so you're planning ahead. And then you're also looking ahead like, okay, my next turn, when I go to this space, there's only 2 tiles left. There's only 2 tiles left in the market space, so when this gardener die gets around here and it's my turn, I can pay a kitty cat and have those filled up. But I'm looking ahead to see what it's going to be, because you're going to have 2 tiles and you have to start from the gardener when you're placing these tiles. So you would put that one there and that one there. And maybe I looked ahead and I thought, oh man, I need that tile. I need this to complete my board. That tile right there, that 3-space tile. And I'm going to go ahead and pay a kitty cat, because you don't have a lot of those. But I'm going to go ahead and pay a kitty cat and fill those so that I can get that tile and put it on my board. And that is the type of things that you're thinking about. The choices are interesting. The puzzle that you're putting together is interesting. The way you're scoring is interesting. And I like that about this game. I liked it better, like I say, than Spring Meadow or Indian Summer. I didn't think those were as interesting and fun as this game. And we've kept this game for a long, ever since we got it in 2016. And I enjoy playing it. It's a game like Calico, it's a game like Cascadia, Sentient, Azul, Reef. If you love any of those games like that, those puzzly nature type of games, you'll love this. And I kept this game over Feast for Odin, over Le Havre, over Glass Road, by the same author. All these by Uwe Rosenberg, all these Caverna Cave Farmers, Agricola. Sold all of those. I like this level of complexity. Lori and I, we can play this game in 30, 45 minutes, and that's set up, playing the game and putting it away. And the choices are interesting, the game is fun, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is Cottage Garden by Uwe Rosenberg. I really, really like it, and I hope you, if you haven't played it, give it a try. If you like that polyomino type of puzzle that you're going to put together, there's a lot of games out there that do this, but this one does it very well, and it's a lot of fun. Okay, everybody, that was the games for today that we played this week, and I hope you enjoyed them. Please like and subscribe. Have a great day, and I'll see you the next time on The Bones Collector. And remember to keep on board gaming, because it is the best doggone hobby on the planet. Bye-bye.